Hello, hello. We are about to talk about, hey to Mabuki, how are you? I think you've got a show at 2, so I'll make sure that we're all finished and done before then. But immediately what I'm going to do straight away is find my partner in crime, George, aka Moarge.
Hey, good to see you again.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know if a notification went out. Did you get a notification for this show?
I didn't know.
I said to put out a notification. Jeff's already ahead of us. Jeff Key's here. He started watching the US version. I wonder why. Oh, you did get the notification, Jeff. Okay, fine. People will join us. Here's AMHR. How are you? I know Tsun Mabuki is with us. Before we talk about the main order of events, we'll just point out that later on today, Jeff and I will be hosting the last chat back about the curse, which is sort of episode 10 of that sort of set the internet on fire a little bit this week because it was really kind of out there. And Jeff and I will be joined, excitingly, hi HFRUJHG. Jeff and I will be joined by Hollywood royalty Corbin Burnson, who used to be in a big show called LA Law, and is now, a very successful actor. He's just signed up for a new J.J. Abrams show, and he was one of the stars of The Curse with Emma Stone. And so we're very excited to have him at 11 o'clock UK, 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific time later today. So Jeff, I'm excited to talk to you about that later. And one of the things I like doing with Jeff, George, is the same as I do with you, watching the show. In this case, The Traitors. We're talking about episodes 4 to 6, so there will be spoilers. I just like watching the show and think, like, what are George's points going to be? Because he's watching it as well. And like with Jeff, you send me notes and I send you notes, and it's kind of funny. Our notes this week, I thought, were very much in tandem. Yeah. Did you not agree?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few points in there, isn't there, that are basically the same thought process going on. It's funny.
Yeah. And Jeff, if you want to start your own US one, I'm not watching the US one because I don't want to get, it'll just get too confusing. I'll have 48 traitors in my head and trying to figure out who's doing what and when. It'll be too much for me. So we're just going to focus on. Go on.
They also filmed.
Say that again.
They're also filmed at Ardros Castle, aren't they, in Scotland?
Yeah, same castle and a different host, Alan Cumming, who is the actor, very funny guy. And I will watch it. I've watched it and I've seen notifications of it. I'm just avoiding them. So I think I'm going to probably roll comments here, if that's all right. We started off in episode 4. Do you want to explain about your thoughts about traitors putting people in the the dungeon, and what you thought about that?
It was interesting, wasn't it? Because you see the traitors talking amongst themselves, working out who's going to go to the dungeon, and they made a rather strange plan to put 2 of them, thinking they'd avoid detection. However, obviously, then there was this kind of it felt slightly uncomfortable to watch, really. A bit of a game plan between, was it Paul and Harry?
Yeah.
Against Ash, wasn't it? And it felt kind of sad, really, because they really threw her under the bridge by putting her in the dungeon and then kind of having a plan to get her out. So yeah, that was kind of interesting one. And then was it Meg? I felt really sorry for Meg because she's quite quiet, and she was also put in the dungeon.
She was quite quiet. She was put in the dungeon. I mean, here's the thing. I think they wanted Ash out because if I was a co-traitor with Ash, Ash was just like a bunch of nerves and very obvious. We discussed this last week. However, putting 2 of them in, knowing that one of the other people might get immunity, and that's what happened, wasn't it? Is that the other guy, what's he called? Oh, I can't remember his name. The muscly guy.
Yeah.
The Welsh guy who's actually grown on me quite a lot. He got immunity, meaning that Meg had to go, meaning that, I mean, how Paul escaped getting evicted, how he is still in the show is incredible to me.
Yeah, I did find it really because I mean we spoke about it last time where he comes across as slightly obvious in his kind of quiet tone, sitting in the background, analysing, and it's all kind of by the book and seems a bit obvious. And he was so close this time. And was it Jazz I think that actually did suggest and said, "I noticed the smirk on your face." And I was kind of laughing inside at that point because I was like, someone's finally picked up on it.
Yeah, there's Jazz and there's Jasmine. Jazz is the guy and Jasmine is the girl, and Jazz has really got Paul's number, keeps going on about it still, but no one seems to be listening to him. I think longer term, if Jazz can somehow convince them that Paul is a traitor, and if they can get Paul out, that's going to be like a real crux, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Because he's definitely a prominent figure within the Traitors as well, isn't he? Sort of, I think, yeah, Harry seems to follow his word quite a bit.
He's a total leader. Yeah, they both follow. Like, well, who have they got? Is it three of them now? Or there's Miles, there's Harry.
Miles, Harry, and Paul, I think.
Are they? They're three again, are they? They haven't recruited another one.
Recruited another, no.
Hi, SJP. Nice to see you. Yeah. Yeah, how Paul is still in that game is kind of extraordinary, really. And I agree with you. And there was a lot of uncomfortable. I mean, Meg went, the quiet person went. And then we had this kind of fake emotions by two of the traitors. Number one was Paul doing all his tears, which felt to me a bit like crocodile tears.
The fact that he actually was sobbing and had to go for a walk and get a guy to follow him, was it just such an obvious game plan, you know? Yeah, surprising.
Did you feel Harry's tears were fake about when poor Johnny went, who I thought that was very unfortunate because Johnny was a very nice character to have in there?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. I got the feeling it was. But he's not. I guess it's quite good, really, because it's not as obvious as Paul. You know, it's kind of he did it fairly authentically. If it was fake,
you had an interesting comment to make that you're still intrigued about the mother and son duo. This is Diane and Ross, and I was very interested in your comment to say that I think there's more here we don't know.
Yeah. So obviously, with the same production company as Squid Games, The Challenge, as we spoke last time, they followed a similar story of a mother and son. I know you can't compare the two, but we got to learn a lot more about them because they were open to the rest of the contestants. And in the Traitors, they've decided to stay secret. But it keeps kind of bringing up a question of, well, why stay so secret? Is there going to be another twist? Is there something else we don't know?
I think that's a really good call.
Family member? Is there? I don't know. Is there something really bizarre? Does
that
one
would
of them
be
have
crazy.
I'm not sure.
Hi, cheeky baby. Yeah, that would be crazy. But a third member of the family would be absolutely insane. I don't know how they could keep that going. Also, when we were watching it at home, we were like, well, if mother and son are in there, like they supposedly don't know which one's a traitor and which one's a faithful. They don't know each other's status.
Yes.
So, but wouldn't you say, like, if it was you and me, if you were my brother, I'd say, look, let's have a code word or a symbol. I'll tap you on the shoulder at some point, or I'll say something, because you want, if you're mother and son, you want each other to do well, because I guess, you know, they might share some of the money, that kind of thing. But yes, I do think that you have made a very valid point that there may be yet another twist like that.
Yeah, I think we should maybe keep an eye out, and maybe we can talk about it in the future. But Diane being the mum really looks out for Ross as the son, and you'll notice in conversations when people suggest it could be Ross being a traitor, she'll often defend it or kind of, you know, go a bit quiet and isn't really sure what to say. So I think we should see if she's doing that to any of the other contestants. Is there anyone else she's kind of supporting? Or not talking about, because she does talk a lot.
She does like to talk. Okay, so let's talk about the next episodes, which start airing tonight. In fact, they might be up. I'm not sure. I think they wait until 9 o'clock to put them online as well. And we'll catch up again next week, and we'll try and reach out and see if we can get some special guests on next week as well. But who's got a target on their back, do you think, now? I've got a couple of people who've got, I think, have got targets. Yeah.
I just through the list. Zach, I think, is like clearly in the target line, and kind of fairly so. I mean, against what he says to the contestants, like you can kind of. I think I would suspect him too. But yeah, I'd say he's the key one.
I think Anthony's got a target on his back as well.
Anthony.
Oh, has Anthony gone already? Chess coach Anthony? He went, didn't he? Sorry.
He went, yeah.
Yeah, he had the target on his back. Sorry. And who's doing well, do you think? And could you see hanging around until the end?
So the same as I said last week, I think Diane and Ross, the mother and son, will go far. Because I think there's something tactical that they'll start playing on. So I think that's to their advantage. But also, Diane has to be careful now because she talks a lot and starts targeting people. I think people might then look at her, and kind of go, well, you keep, pointing your finger. So, maybe you're a traitor. So, yeah, but I still think they'll go quite far.
I think Harry will somehow stay around because he's got that kind of like innocence about him, and people aren't necessarily going to believe that he is a traitor. I think Harry could go quite well. I do now think that the Welsh guy who we mentioned earlier is coming on quite well. What's he called? He's called Andrew. He's got a very nice Welsh accent.
Yeah, he could be in the firing line though, because he's
got an opinion, hasn't he? And if you've got an opinion, that puts you in the firing line. I do think if Jazz does manage to, there could be some interesting stuff this week. If Jazz pushes this whole Paul agenda, that's going to be big. And if, like, for instance, if Jazz managed to kind of persuade them to get Paul out, that puts Jazz in a very strong position.
Yeah.
And then they'd be down to 2 traitors. If Paul went this week, they'd be down to Harry and Miles. They'd have to recruit. So let's imagine a scenario that, and then we'll come to an end. Imagine a scenario that Paul is out, that Miles and Harry have to recruit.
Yeah.
Who would they recruit?
Oof.
You know what I think? One of the things I think about casting, and you could tell your connection, is I think that with these, it's very difficult with 24 people, but you've got to make people as distinct as possible. And there are 2 blonde ladies who I think are very similar. Well, I think one of them is called Evie.
And
yeah,
Charlie.
Maybe Charlie. Yeah, they're quite quiet.
They are.
They might be a good person to recruit because they're like less obvious.
It's true. However, they're currently on a bit of a game plan collectively of like, if you're quiet, we're going to start looking at you. And I think that's not necessarily to their advantage at the moment.
Yeah.
Actually, Meg is another one that is probably still being suspected slightly because she was also in the dungeon. And I found do you remember the comment? I can't remember who said it. The girl that sat next to her at the round table, but she said, "You're shifty as hell." And
yes.
Then there's a few eyes looking at Meg now, which would be
That's
interesting.
true, actually. Yeah, she kind of did. She was probably lucky to escape. I wonder if Paul stays in, will he target Jazz? And then they'll find out that Jazz is a faithful. It's very hard to stay in if you're a traitor at the beginning of this game. Very, very hard. I'd like to see the stats on people staying in as a traitor from the beginning. Because of course,
Go.
No. I was just going to say that's, it'd be interesting to see all the stats from all the various series to see what traitors were right there at the beginning and managed to stay in at the end. What were you going to say?
I was just thinking, I did find it funny at the beginning of episode 6, I think it was, where Claudia came in and said, stop worrying about drinking, how people are drinking their tea, because everyone's sort of over-analysing the little things. And she said, you need to start paying serious attention now. And I think they're now thinking, we need to be a bit more tactical than just kind of, you kind of walked into the room a bit slowly. Silly things.
And we should finish with a nod to Claudia's styling. Whoever's doing her styling and fashionista is super, isn't it? Aren't they?
Yeah,
so it's iconic.
She's always got a big turtleneck, often got like big gloves on, a woolly jumper, but like she's got that low fringe, hasn't she? A big turtleneck, and like you can barely see her face. It's funny.
No, it's really good. She's great, and yes, her costumes are great. I'm sure she has some input into that. But Cumming is like that on the American show. Jeff will tell us that he's got his own sort of style, and he's kind of got that cheeky chappy thing going as well. He's a very good host for the American show. Good. Okay, let's maybe do same time next week. We can discuss it together. I'm going to probably watch the next episode tonight. That'll be already. We'll be on 7 to 9. That'll be correct, won't it? Thanks, Jeff, and everyone for joining in. Yeah, Jeff, do feel free to start a US Traitors one, but I'm going to wait until we've watched the UK one. And yeah, I'll talk to you offline about getting some guests in, George, but I'll speak to you later. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.